Australia's natural and cultural heritage is irreplaceable. Over the 50 million years of our continent's geographic isolation, an extensive variety of plants and animals has evolved here. Australia has more unique species than any other nation on the planet. Changes in land use over the last 200 years and the threat of climate change, it is increasingly important that a diverse range of healthy, functioning ecosystems remain viable and capable of supporting life. Australia has an extensive network of public national parks and reserves, which aim to protect examples of the full range of these natural ecosystems and landscape features as part of a national reserve system. Yet all the public conservation reserves make up less than 9% of the land area of New South Wales and still dramatically underrepresent the spectrum of different biological regions or bioregions across the state. Which is why the National Reserve System also provides for the establishment of protected areas on private land across Australia. These areas help complement the important conservation values found in our core public conservation reserves in terms of representation, connectivity and resilience. The New South Wales Department of Environment, Climate Change and Water operates a Conservation Partners Program that enables partnerships with private landholders, Aboriginal communities, non-government, government and industry landholders who want to help protect and conserve places of natural and cultural heritage significance on their land across the state, particularly those in rare and unique ecosystems in underrepresented bioregions. The Conservation Partners Program offers two types of conservation partnerships to enable private or public landholders to formally protect part or all of their land by voluntarily proclaiming an area as a wildlife refuge or entering into a conservation agreement over an area. Both options provide legal protection for important wildlife and its habitats and significant natural and cultural heritage. A wildlife refuge under the National Parks and Wildlife Act provides for the protection and conservation of wildlife and its habitats. It enables landholders to set aside natural bushland and also continue to manage areas for agricultural production, industrial uses, utilities or tourism compatible with wildlife conservation, or to carry out native animal release programs.
Whiteleads is a small grazing Western Lands lease that Marg and myself were fortunate enough to purchase 3 years ago, and it's very exciting for us. Marg and myself have had some discussion and we've elected to consent to the property being a wildlife refuge. A business plan and a life plan Margaret and myself have for Whiteleads as we move forward. We would like to share this land and opportunity with other people, and to work closely with the national parks I think is special, and also to involve yourself with other stakeholders and teammates is pretty good. And if we can work together to give opportunity for education, arid zone rehabilitation and opportunity for conservation, I think that's pretty special as I move forward.
A conservation agreement under the National Parks and Wildlife Act provides a higher level of protection and is an in perpetuity legal arrangement, a conservation covenant that passes on to successive owners. It provides for the protection and conservation of significant natural environments, scenery and geological formations, native biodiversity, including critical habitats of threatened species, endangered ecological communities, and the study and care of native plants and animals.
The University of New South Wales have an arid zone research station. Basically, we do everything associated with arid areas. We do everything from climate change through to wildlife studies, mainly kangaroo and avian studies. We also do climate change work with the ANSTO and looking at particles, dust particles in the air. And also sheep research. We've done a lot of sheep research out here and looking at better ways of maximising land return for farmers in rural areas.
We're surrounded by a Eucalyptus gillii woodland, which is better known as curly mallee. Curly mallee is endemic to this region. It only grows here and some in the northern side of the Flinders Ranges in South Australia. Well, the landholder has decided to exclude stock from this site. He's built a fence and he's put it underneath a wildlife refuge. It's a beautiful landscape. The geology, the rock formations and the vegetation. This particular tree here has beautiful soft blue foliage. It's used in nursery landscaping, and just to see it naturally growing in the wild is really beautiful.
Now, a little known fact, in the 1880s, this country out here supported about 20 million sheep. And after that, when we first settled on this land, now after they knocked out the vegetation that was already growing on the land, the west of the Darlings only supported about 5 million sheep since then. So you've had a massive drop-off in the population density of animals you can support. And that's simply because the vegetation has been removed.
Nanya is a property, now 40,000 hectare property, with very high vegetation diversity. Through a long period of time, got to know the area very well and identified Nanya as one of the most significant properties. And that led to its purchase by the university with the assistance from the Australian government. And we now use it for teaching, research, and of course to conserve its very high biodiversity values. Well, a lot of effort went into purchasing Nanya, and we want to ensure that it is absolutely permanently reserved and its values are retained for everyone and for the value of the biodiversity, in perpetuity. It's just an act of faith, if you like, to ensure that the conservation values are maintained right into the future.
Both conservation partnerships are formal commitments under the National Parks and Wildlife Act, with ongoing monitoring and support through the Conservation Partners Program. The legal basis of these arrangements ensures their security, as well as legal protection for landholders from unauthorised activities on their land, such as trespassing, shooting and hunting, prospecting, picking or harming wildlife and their habitats. In recognition of a private landholder's commitment to conservation, conservation agreement landholders can access a range of rate and tax exemptions and concessions, which can help offset costs associated with their conservation management. Conservation Partners Program provides ongoing monitoring and support services to assist landholders with conservation management of their land.
That process has been very enjoyable. It was initial phone call to a local ranger in Broken Hill, Paul Seeger. Paul visited Marg and myself and took us through some steps. He then brought another colleague to our property, went through some further steps. National Parks and Wildlife has assisted us through those steps all the way, which has been very enjoyable. Marg and myself have given them assistance to show them what the property is, what we think it can offer, the benefits at the end of the day as national parks wildlife being a stakeholder in our project as we move forward.
Landholders are really interested to know more about their vegetation and their ecological communities. They're becoming more aware of diversifying their industry, and conservation is now seen as a viable industry for a landholder.
While changing land use and development have had a significant impact over the last few centuries, threatening many ecosystems, bioregions, landscapes, plants, wildlife and their migration patterns, there are many wildlife habitats and corridors in the landscape that still exist in their natural state and are able to be protected and conserved. Taking the opportunity to create a positive long-term legacy for the benefit of current and future generations through private and public land conservation efforts can make an important contribution to the long-term protection of Australia's natural and cultural heritage.
Whilst we clearly need to continue grazing large areas if we want wool and sheep and productivity from the land, but we also have a moral responsibility to look after what we've inherited.
To live on the site, to witness and breathe it is speechless and priceless.
Having a conservation agreement or wildlife refuge on your land is an important statement about the landholder commitment and the efforts in protecting our unique and diverse bioregions across the state and Australia as part of the National Reserve System. If you'd like to consider a conservation agreement or wildlife refuge and believe that some of your land may have significant natural or cultural heritage values, please don't hesitate to contact us for more information and to make an application for assessment.